Welcome to the report from Tiger Mountain, ladies and gentlemen. It's Barbenheimer time. Yes, it's a special two-part report from Tiger Mountain. We're going to be reviewing Barbie and Oppenheimer. Stick around and listen for part one on Barbie. All right, welcome to the report from Tiger Mountain, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about the new film Barbie, which is part of the double feature Barbenheimer, which is the big cinematic event of 2023. So, is it a film? Is it a film? Is it a light romantic comedy about Klaus Barbie, the famous French Nazi guy who got up to all kinds of mischief during World War II? Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It's not. It's not about Klaus Barbie. No, it isn't. It's about Barbie the doll. You all remember Barbie is that kind of famous doll that was kind of foisted on the world at the end of the 1950s by, I can't remember her name, Barbara something or other, I think her name is. And she was connected to Mattel and all that kind of stuff. Basically, they foisted that onto the world and it became a kind of cultural phenomenon. And it did kind of change. They make a joke at the start of the Barbie film that, dolls for girls before Barbie were sort of, like babies. And, it was like kind of like they were being brainwashed to be mothers. And then along came Barbie, which was a kind of symbol of kind of female glamour in the late 50s. She was like a Bond girl, basically. This became a kind of, icon of, I guess, a lot of people's childhoods, particularly women, obviously. But everyone saw their sisters play with Barbie or whatever, or friends' sisters or whatever growing up. So it was a familiar figure to all of us. So, it had been in the works for a while that they were going to make a film of the Barbie phenomena, so to speak. And, Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling were chosen to star as Barbie and Ken. And it was put together by Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, whose most recent film, I think I reviewed in another report from Tiger Mountain called White Noise. They made that recently, which was actually quite a good film. It's on Netflix. And this is a new film. Look, how can I put it politely? Let's put it non-politely. It's basically the Frankfurt School raped the Barbie legacy. That's the quick summary of what the Barbie film is about. Now, the Frankfurt School is a group of Jewish communist intellectuals who are originally from Germany, but had to flee because of not Klaus Barbie. He didn't have anything to do with them having to flee, but the Nazis, yes, they did flee the Nazis, and they came here. And, basically they wanted to get their act on in America. And then they began their communist subversion. Instead of in Germany, they began it here, or not here, I'm in Musa, but in America, they began their communist subversion there. They settled in Southern California and they immediately hated it, even though it was a kind of paradise at the time. And they whinged and complained. And they brought in this whole idea of identity politics and, warring genders, warring sexes, warring, racial animosity. That was, and they thought that through doing this, it would bring about a kind of, communist utopia, which of course it hasn't and will never do that. But you can see the influence of the Frankfurt School on this thing. That's probably been put there by Noah Baumbach, who's the Jewish kind of intellectual. He's a reasonably good New York writer and director. He just wrote this film, and Greta Gerwig, who's sort of his ingenue. She is like, I guess he's a bit like Woody Allen, and she's a bit like Mia Farrow or Diane Keaton, more like Diane Keaton probably, because she's quite a good actress. And she's come in and directed this, and it's made it all about the kind of battle of the sexes. Barbie Land is a kind of utopia where they're all different kinds of Barbies, including multiracial, and they all hold the powerful jobs. And Ken is a kind of male archetype who really is pretty, just likes to go to the beach and not even could swim and stuff, etc., etc. So there's this kind of dichotomy in the film where they go from Barbie Land, which is this female-ruled world, and they come to ours, which is of course ruled as it is, ladies and gentlemen, by the terrible patriarchy. Yes, the terrible patriarchy rules our world. And then, so Barbie comes here and finds out, to her horror, that our world is ruled by terrible men, and she immediately wants to escape back to her world of, Barbie Land. But Ken, when he's there, Ken picks up a bit of the alt-right. He's been watching the report from Tiger Mountain. He's been watching, all these kind of, been watching a bit of Andrew Tate. He's been listening to Jordan Peterson because he takes these kind of alt-righty kind of ideas and male manosphere ideas back to Barbie Land, and he goes back to Barbie Land before Barbie gets back, and he turns everything around, and instead of having a female president, he becomes the dictator, and all the women now have to serve the men in Barbie Land. So basically, it's this big kind of mess. Ben Shapiro famously did a kind of 45-minute takedown of this film. I think that the politics of the film is sort of crazy, and it is a kind of identity politics, but it's such a mishmash, and it's such a mess, and some of it is funny, as I said, because some of it involves our kind of politics, particularly the stuff that's to do with the character of Ryan Gosling. I think that it's playful in its mood and how it does that. And I found it funny. I found myself laughing at it. And I mean, even though it is kind of woke in many ways, I thought that it sort of was taking the piss of maybe itself even. And so I didn't hate it. I thought that the set design and all the colors and everything were quite well done. And it was sort of funny with the two worlds. And in the real world, you've got Will Ferrell, who's kind of the leader of Mattel, blah, blah, blah. So, it's not a bad film. It's sort of fun, and it's got a lot of woke stuff in it, but it's got some non-woke, and it sort of balances itself a bit. And it's such a strange mess that it almost goes to show that this whole nonsense of identity politics is something that we should all move beyond. I don't know whether that's the intention of the filmmakers or whether it's just because the film's a bit inept, but I think that's the result. It's not a bad film, and it is a kind of good introduction to the main film we're going to discuss tonight, which is Mr. Oppenheimer. Stick around.